Hi everyone, I'm Krista, teacher of crystal healing classes as well as holistic healer, and welcome to this episode of Your Questions Answered. So in a previous video, I put a call out to all of you to post your questions and I would make videos on them. So I received quite a few questions talking about and asking about grief. Many of you expressed that you have lost a loved one and having a hard time dealing with that loss and that heartache, or you have known someone else, a friend of yours that has lost someone through death and having a hard time dealing with it, or even the loss of a job and having a hard time dealing with that, or the breakup of a relationship and going through the grieving process there. So this is such an important topic. This is going to be a longer video, so please stick around to the end because I will talk about what crystals are very good to work with to heal through grief. Before we dive into that, we need to unpack what grief is and the different stages of grief. So let's face it, everyone, grief is one of the most heart-wrenching, most painful emotions that we can experience. When we go through grief, it is a natural emotion that we do need to go through anytime we've had a loss of some sort, the death of a loved one, the ending of a relationship, the loss of a job, or loss of a pet. We need to go through that grief to heal and to come out the other side. But it is one of the most painful emotions that we can feel. When we go through grief, we also have body sensations that can show up. We can actually feel physical heartache in our heart or our chest. Our chest can become tight. Sometimes that affects our breathing. We have a tendency sometimes to cry a lot. That can also create headaches when we go through grief. Like we have a lot of tension in the head. We also might feel that tension in the abdominal area, in the digestive organs, having a harder time eating. Okay, maybe we don't feel like eating, or maybe it swings the other way and we have a tendency to overeat, dealing with that pain, that emotional pain. It can also manifest as insomnia, or maybe even sleeping too much. You know, that depression sets in, maybe you don't feel like doing anything. It's like, you know, work becomes a chore. It's like you might be sitting and hanging out with a friend and having a conversation. The conversation feels like a chore. It's like everything feels more effort, you know, when you are going through the grieving process. More effort to make a sandwich, more effort to write an email, more effort to have a conversation with someone. So it can be really, really tough going. So let's unpack the grief, because there are 5 stages of grief that we go through. Sometimes some of us might go through some of these stages quickly. There might be some stages that we might move through quickly, others we might linger in. And this is in no particular order, because when I'm speaking these stages, you might go through them in that order, or you might go through them in a different order. So it's not exactly order specific, but it's important that we understand these 5 stages to know then which crystals and gemstones we can work with to help us work through each stage. Okay, so there's 5 stages of grief. The first one is denial. Okay, so this is pretending the loss didn't happen. So this includes loss of a job, pretending it didn't happen, losing a relationship. When a relationship is ended and you've lost your love partner, that denial can set in. In the case of losing someone to death, they die or pass on, then there is a denial there. So I want to talk a little bit about what that looks like. So denial is pretending the loss didn't happen. In the case of a relationship loss, how that can manifest is you might say to yourself, he, she, they're just mad. We'll get back together tomorrow. So even though your partner said to you, that's it, it's over, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore, maybe they storm off, they end the relationship, but in your mind you start thinking, well, they're just angry, they'll come back tomorrow, you know, we'll kiss and make up and it will be fine. But really, your partner has ended the relationship for good, but you'll start to deny it. In the case of death, if you have lost a loved one, they have died and passed on, how denial can manifest is, he's not gone, she's just sleeping, she'll wake up, or they'll come home soon. This can also manifest as like walking into the house and expecting the deceased person to be there, or expecting that they will call. It's like the brain just goes into this denial mode, just denying that it happened. So even though like the mind knows like, okay, yes, the person has died, they have passed on, but there's another part of the mind that just can't accept it. So it's like expecting to see the other person, expecting that you'll get a text message from them. So that denial can manifest as that. In the case of a job loss, how that can manifest in terms of denial, you might think to yourself, well, you know what, maybe my boss made a mistake. They didn't mean to fire me, and they will rehire me tomorrow. I'll get that phone call. They'll hire me back tomorrow. They'll want me to come back. They'll beg me to come back because I'm such a good employee. Okay, so it can manifest like that. Okay, the next stage is anger. So the second stage, anger. And anger arises to mask the pain because, as we said, grief can be so painful. So the anger is there. It surfaces to try to mask that pain. And anger can erupt in inappropriate situations. So, for instance, you can be angry about this loss, and then you could be talking to a friend, and all of a sudden you unleash that anger towards your friend for no good reason. Or you go to work and you're working on a project, someone asks you, oh, will you be done working on that soon? Just an innocent question, and you blow up at them and yell at them. This is how anger can come out in inappropriate ways. So how anger can manifest in the case of relationship loss, a relationship breakup, you might think in your mind or say to your friends, oh, I hate them. They will regret breaking up with me. I was like the best girlfriend, best boyfriend, best partner that, they could have had. They're just going to really regret that. And I just, hate them for it, So that anger starts coming out. In the case of death, losing a loved one to death, sometimes that can manifest as anger. And the anger can come out in this way. If only he took good care of himself, he wouldn't have slipped off the cliff and died, right? So it's like that anger. It's like being angry at the person for dying. It's like, well, it happened, in whichever way the death happened. This is like anger that starts to blame the person who died for their death. That's not very useful, but the mind goes there, and then that anger can just escalate. In the case of a job loss, the way the anger can manifest is this. My boss is an idiot. I hope he gets fired because he fired me. He's such an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing. I hope he gets fired. It's like that anger projecting outward. So I'm dramatizing this to give you the point, to get the point across. Okay, the next stage of grief is the bargaining stage, bargaining. So when that stage arises, it's because we feel helpless and we try to regain control, especially when we felt the situation was out of our control. So if someone broke up with you in terms of love relationship, that was out of your control. When someone died that you didn't expect, your loved one passed away, that was out of your control. Okay, or you lost your job, out of your control. This is bargaining to try to regain that control when feeling helpless. And this usually occurs as what-if statements. So for instance, in the case of a relationship breakup, it would manifest like this. If I was nicer, he would have stayed with me. If I treated them better or paid more attention to them, maybe my partner would have stayed with me. In the case of death, losing someone to death, if only I went over to her house that night, she wouldn't have died. I would have been there. I could have saved her. So that's how that would manifest. Statements that are similar like that. In the case of a job loss, how that denial and bargaining can manifest. If only I worked longer hours, I wouldn't have been fired. So maybe you're already working a 40 or 50-hour week, and then you say to yourself, well, when you bargain, if only I had worked longer hours or put in more energy or effort, I wouldn't have been fired. Okay, so that's the bargaining stage. The next one is the depression stage. So depression. And this is when the sadness sets in, like that really deep sadness, feeling lethargic, having a hard time coping, having a hard time doing daily activities. This is when things can feel like a chore. You just feel like laying in bed all day, maybe binge watching movies because you just can't do anything else. It's like having a hard time facing the world. Or you do get yourself out of bed, you show up at work and you're just really sad. You might be crying at your desk or trying to hide your tears and just, having a hard time functioning at work. So this is really having that hard time of coping. So in the case of relationship loss, when a relationship breaks up, how that can manifest as thoughts and statements of no one will ever love me again. It's like, oh, this guy, this woman, this person, they broke up with me. Oh, No one is ever going to love me again. Okay, that's when these kinds of thoughts can start to set in, right? That's depression talking, that is depression talking. So if those thoughts start to arise in your mind, just recognize that it's just a response to that sadness, but it has no basis. Of course you are lovable. Of course people love you. Yes, you can find another love partner. In the case of death, when someone has passed on, how that depression can manifest as thoughts like, there's a hole or void in my life without them. Like, oh, I just can't carry on without them. It's like they left this big void, a big hole. I'll never get over it. And again, that's depression talking. So just recognize that. Okay, we'll talk about crystals, good for depression, in a moment. And in the case of a job loss, I'll never get a good job like that again. Oh, that was my dream job that I lost. I loved it so much. I'm never going to get another job like that again. No one is ever going to hire me. Okay, again, that is depression talking. So just recognize that and just know that is not based in truth. Of course, you have amazing skills. You will get another job and it will be great. And it might even be, guess what, better than the job you had before. Like, imagine that. Okay. The next stage, the last stage, is acceptance. So as we move through these stages, then we come to a place of acceptance. And acceptance means coming to peace with the situation. Now that can be a rocky ride, as we know, and it can be very painful, but we come to a place of like, okay, we accept that this loss has happened, and accepting the reality of the situation so that you can move on and move forward. So in the case of relationship breakup, how that acceptance can manifest is statements like, this was the best breakup. It was the best for me to have this breakup. I wasn't truly happy in the relationship anyway, so this breakup was for the best. And you recognize that because you recognize that the relationship wasn't working. Maybe you were unhappy, your partner was unhappy, and it's like, okay, it's for the best for both of you, and you weren't truly happy. So recognizing the reality of that, and then this allows you to move on. In the case of death, losing a loved one to death, how acceptance can manifest is like this, statements like this. I was so lucky that I had so many years with her, with him, with them, that I'm so fortunate that I had them in my life. Like, we had so many great moments together, and I'm going to cherish those moments. Okay, so that would be acceptance there. In the case of job loss, how that can manifest is I gained lots of good skills at that job. I learned a lot of good new things that I hadn't learned before had I not got that job. And those skills are going to help me to get my new job, right? So that is a place of acceptance. Okay, so now we've gone through the stages of grief. Let's now talk about which crystals are good for which stage. Okay, so in the case of denial, rainbow quartz is a really good crystal to work with. So I'm going to show this one actually. I'm going to try to find the rainbow in here. This is where the quartz has a rainbow that happens inside. Oh, there it was. Can you see this rainbow right here? Oh, there it is. Right here. Have a look. I have to turn it just so that you can see it, right? This nice little rainbow in this area. So rainbow quartz is really good for denial because it helps you to see the truth. So when you see the rainbow and that flash of light there, it gives you that flash of insight to get out of denial, to see what the truth is. So seeing the truth. Another good one for the denial stage is Labradorite gemstone. Actually, I'm going to show you the other one because the flash is better. So you can see that flash here in the Labradorite. Okay, there we go. You can see that nice flash there. And again, it gives you the flash of insight to break through that denial stage, to be able to see the situation for what it is, to see that this loss has actually happened and being able to then deal with it. Now, when you look at the Labradorite, it's a bit of a darker stone, darker gray with this beautiful flash of light. It helps you to get out of that darkness of denial to start to see things for what they are. And when you start to see things for what they are and you are then knowing the truth of the situation, that then starts the healing in motion. Okay, so there's that one. Anger. Okay, so in the anger, when that anger is coming out, the good crystals to work with that, number one is black tourmaline. Black tourmaline has a really nice cleansing quality to help cleanse the heaviness of that anger, to take the edge off of that anger, especially when it gets big and explosive and filled with drama. Black tourmaline is also very grounding, to ground your energy, to also help you to be more patient with yourself, more patient with others, and patient in situations, to diffuse that anger. I kind of think of anger like a bomb that goes off, it can have a lot of damage in its wake. It can be upsetting to those around you when you lash out at them. So the black tourmaline diffuses that anger, helps you to work through it in a healthy way, to be able to communicate and express yourself without getting angry and upset. It's also good for stress relief as well, to relieve the stress as, pressure is building. It's like being in a pressure cooker. As that pressure of anger is building and then it erupts like a volcano, it helps to bring that back down, to ground your energy. The other stone that I really like for anger is this white howlite. White howlite is really good for stress relief as well. It helps to, again, calm the anger down, helping you to work through the anger, to release it in a healthy way rather than exploding. It has a nice soothing, calming effect to soothe that anger and help you to work through it, and again, returning you to a nice calm state. Also, the howlite is really good because it works on the adrenal glands. When we get angry, our adrenals kick in, producing lots of stress hormone, adrenaline and cortisol. It gets us like pumped up with that anger. So it helps to return the adrenals back to a state of balance so that you can return to a state of peace, having more calm energy. Okay, so that would be my picks for anger. The bargaining stage. Okay, bargaining. Citrine is really good for that stage. So here's a piece of citrine that I have. And when you feel helpless, okay, citrine works directly on the solar plexus chakra to help re-empower you. When you feel helpless and trying to regain control over something that you have no control of, it's like a lost cause. So the citrine works on the solar plexus chakra, which helps to empower you, to re-empower you, to come back to your center and to work through that stage in a good way, to be empowered and boosting your own personal empowerment. So getting out of that mindset, if only I was nicer, he would have come back to me. If only I was with her that night, she wouldn't have died. Helping you to work through those unhealthy thoughts, to settle the mind down, and also help you to have the thoughts that are more based on reality instead of going into those scenarios. If only, if I had done, if only this, because it's not useful. The mind then spirals into that negativity. So it helps to get you out of those negative thoughts in the mind that feed the denial. Okay, so citrine is really good for that. The other one that I really like is smoky quartz. Okay, so here's a little piece of smoky quartz that I have. Okay, smoky quartz. And smoky quartz is very cleansing. So it helps to cleanse you of those negative thought patterns, of those if-then statements in the bargaining stage, cleansing your mind of those thoughts that are not useful. Because as soon as you start to ruminate on those thoughts, it feeds more of that. It's like you get caught in that cycle. If only, if only, if only, if only. And then you can feel really guilty in the bargaining stage. So the smoky quartz helps to cleanse the guilt, helps to break down the cycle of rumination on those negative thoughts, and helps your mind to be more at peace. Okay, so very important for that. The depression stage. Okay, so for the depression stage, rose quartz is my go-to crystal because this one helps to heal sadness, heartache, especially when your heart, you just feel like your heart, you feel almost like yourself, you feel like you're going to die because you're in that pain of sadness and depression. So the rose quartz helps to work on the heart chakra to help ease that depression, helping you to work through it in a very good way to restore a state of balance. Plus, it also helps to open your heart to love because when we have loss of any kind, our heart shuts down. It's like it clamps up and then we don't let love in. So a friend could do something nice for you. Hey, I'll come over, I'll make you dinner. I know you're feeling sad, I'll do that. And then you're just like, oh, I just don't want it. And it's like you're not accepting that help or support from your friend. This can really help to open up the heart to receive help, to receive support, to receive love from others. I actually teach a live and interactive online crystal healing class on Zoom on that very topic, opening your heart to love with rose quartz crystal to heal through grief and loss of all kinds, and then to boost the heart chakra and the heart, to open the heart to love. So very important. That is one of my go-to. The other one that I really like for depression, I have two pieces here. It's rhodonite. So this is a little piece of rhodonite. Let me hold it closer so you can see it. It's pink with like little black lines or speckles in it. Okay, I just have a small piece. I have another piece of rhodonite here, which is more softer pink. Usually this type you won't find too much black in it, but you'll see little tiny speckles of it. Very soft. So rhodonite is also good. Very similar to rose quartz. It helps to heal the heart chakra, heal the heart, especially healing when there's that tightness in the chest. Also helps to open up the breathing, because when we get sad and depressed and even crying, our breathing becomes shallow. When it becomes shallow, we become more stressed. Then it has an effect on the nervous system that creates more sensitivity in the nervous system and making it very stressful, harder to breathe. When we breathe effectively, inhaling fully and exhaling fully, our breath and our lung energy, lung meridian, helps us to process emotions, to release and let go. When we inhale, helps us to get in touch with the emotion, even though it's painful. But when we exhale, releasing that stress, releasing that pain. So this one can also help with that process of release and letting go, letting that emotion move through you so that it's not lingering, and helping you to heal from depression and heartache and grief. The next one that I really love is Apache Tears. Okay, so here's a little one I have of Apache Tear. It's one of them. Here's another one that I have. Here's another version. This one is bigger, more dense. Like if you look at the two, this one here is more translucent. The light shines through. This one here is more dense. Okay, so you can see them there. And what I really love about the Apache Tears, now kind of like the folklore around this, is the women, when they lost their men to war, their partners, their husbands, their brothers, their cousins, their sons, and they were crying because they were in so much grief and it's so painful. Their tears, okay, their tears turned into these stones. Okay, to help them move through the grief and convert grief and sadness and sorrow into healing power, to transform that into healing power. So this helps to transform sadness, heartache, grief, depression into healing power, to then move forward in a good way, especially when you feel like life can't go on after this loss. It helps you to re-empower you, to cleanse you of those negative thought patterns, those sad thoughts, those self-defeatist thoughts, help you convert that sorrow into healing power to move forward in your life in a good way. So I really love Apache Tears. Okay, then we come to the last stage of acceptance. Apache Tears, also really good for that acceptance stage, helps you to come to terms so that you can move forward and move on, converting that sorrow into healing power. Another one that I really like, again, is the rainbow quartz. Okay, I showed you the rainbow before in the quartz. Rainbow quartz is really nice because it infuses you with hope. Like when you look at the clear quartz that has the rainbows in it, the clear quartz is really bright. So it helps to boost feelings of brightness. The rainbows in there represent hope. The dawning of a new day also represents brightness and a returning to acceptance. And through acceptance, you start to cultivate more joyful energy, remembering the happy memories of someone that you have lost through death, remembering the good times that you had with that person, even the job that you lost, remembering all of the good things you learned in that job to then carry forward into your next job, which will be even better. And also the loss of a relationship, really understanding what that relationship had to teach you, what you learned from that relationship, and carrying that beautiful wisdom forward into your new relationship. Not carrying baggage from the old relationship into your new one, but carrying that nice bright energy, that wisdom and awareness. So really good for that. And then the last one that I really like for the acceptance stage is also the rose quartz. The rose quartz works on the heart chakra, the heart itself, to really accept what happened, even though it was painful, even though it wasn't what you expected, but just to accept it, this is what happened, and then moving forward in a new way. It also helps you to take good, healthy action to create good health for yourself moving forward. Okay. Okay, so let's just do a little healing technique which can help take the edge off of grief and sadness and depression. So take the rhodonite crystal and close your eyes and just take a nice deep breath in to center yourself. And exhale. And then we're going to speak a healing intention to the rhodonite. So please repeat after me. Thank you, rhodonite, for helping me to take the edge off my emotions and help me to return to a state of peace. In full faith, so be it. And then you're going to take a nice deep breath in, and as you inhale, you're going to inhale that sadness, that depression, and then blow it, that emotion, into the stone to help take the edge off, to help return you back to a state of peace. So inhale deeply and exhale. You want to do powerful breaths here. So inhale again and exhale. And one more time. Inhale deeply and exhale. And you can do as many breaths as you need to do to take the edge off of that sadness, to take the edge off of that tightness in the chest that you might be feeling, to help release that emotion and take the edge off when the emotion is becoming too overwhelming for you, which can happen when we are grieving, because that emotion can just bubble up and then start taking over. So this is a really quick technique, a very simple one that's highly effective that you can do as you need it. Okay, so that's a really nice one. And then if you would like to do deeper healing work, you can always book an online session with me through Zoom. We can also work together and help you with that. All right, so I hope you have enjoyed this technique. So I know this was a longer video, so I hope you have enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to go deeper into crystal healing, I do offer live and interactive online crystal healing classes on Zoom, and I run those classes on a regular basis. So you can check out my website, learncrystalhealing.com, for my class schedule and to register. And also I do work as a holistic healer, so I do offer online healing sessions on Zoom. So if you are going through grief and sadness and want to do deeper healing work with me, I am available for that. You can go to my website, kristalyn.ca, to also see my booking link there and to book a healing session with me and to see the different healing services and the types of sessions that I offered. All right, so thank you so much everyone for watching this video. My heart goes out to you going through grief and sadness, because I know how hard it can be. But at the same time, we can work through it in a good way to come out the other side and move forward in life. So thank you so much for watching. Lots of love and light and blessings to you, and namaste.